Hey, what's going on, guys? I'm really, really excited about this week's episode because I have with me a very, very special guest. Because not only is he a badass tax attorney, but he's also a good friend of mine. He's an avid runner. He's got a beautiful family, and I'm very, very excited to have him on the podcast this week. My buddy Carlos Meza. Welcome to the podcast, man. I'm excited to have you here.
Good morning, Carlos. Thank you for having me.
Likewise, man. Likewise.
Uh,
We're always texting and we're like, hey, let's make this happen. And I'm very, very excited that we finally made it happen. I know that you have a very busy schedule, but I wanted to steal, 30, 45 minutes of your time and dive into different topics around tax law and especially what you focus on. So I'm very excited about that. Jumping into those conversations. Like I said, it's one of those things that we've been we've been kind of texting like, hey, let's finally do this. So give us a little bit of background about yourself. I know that besides the tax firm, you're also are going to start teaching and just give us a little bit about your background, how you got into tax law. Uh, Talk to us a little bit about your firm and just give the audience a little intro about you.
sure. I mean, in a nutshell, I mean, I was a kid, I always kind of wanted to be a lawyer. I mean, that's kind of my little. I mean, as to what kind of lawyer was very different when I was a
Hmm.
kid, and then even going into college, and then even going to law school. I don't. I think I was going to be a tax attorney. I attended USD for my JD program and for my LM
Okay.
program afterwards. Um, but during the time at USD, you're required to take tax one federal income tax course, since USD has a nationally ranked US tax law program. So it's usually hovering in the top 10, well, at least the top 10. When
Okay.
I was around there, I think it was like around 3 or 4, and then it was kind of hovering to 5 and 6. I mean, it kind of fluctuates a little, but it's always within the top 10 in ranked programs. So you had to take the course. The first time throughout that time in my JD life, I found myself actually interested in the material. I wasn't just there
Hmm.
to learn and get through the course to get a degree. I was actually there with the actual intellectual curiosity and actually looking at these problems and actually, oh, these are actually cool to try to solve and find out more about. So I think, so I thought to myself, hey, maybe there's more to this, and let's kind of shift away from my idea of what I wanted to be as a lawyer. Before I thought corporate law or maybe immigration law, my head was kind of elsewhere. And then I saw,
Okay.
you never really think about tax attorneys as being the fun ones or the
Yeah,
ones that
like
you
when
want to
when I grow up,
pursue.
I want to be a tax attorney.
No one says that. Everyone's always like, they always think it's like the boring, dry law. People that are
Right.
just there, But the reality, it's a very fun world in a sense that you nerd out. You become a tax nerd and you nerd out learning about these things.
Absolutely.
And I took the course. I started taking more courses after I spoke with my counselor to see, hey, maybe this is something I want to pursue a career in. And then I signed up for the federal income tax clinic. Uh, and the person in charge of that is my boss, Richard Carpenter. He's been my
Hmm.
mentor, my friend, my boss, pretty much wears many hats around my life.
He's a family member
Yeah,
now.
he pretty much too now. So, and at that point, I start interning under him, and
Okay.
then he's got a job opening. So I go up to him and he says, "Hey, like, can I work for you?" He looks at me, sure. He's like, so I interview and I talk with him. Great time talking with him. I get to know him, get to know the firm. I really like the environment. Small practice in San Diego over in East Village, right
Okay.
across the ballpark. Our view of the office is literally the ballpark.
Oh, nice.
So we got a view of the ballpark, the outfield stuff. So we're right across the street from there. Uh, Obviously, that's one of those driving factors when I walked in the office. Like, well, I can get used to working. you know,
You're like, I'm a Padres fan, so
yeah,
you had me at the
exactly,
ballpark.
man. I love baseball. So, uh, let's not sidetrack too much. So I start working with him, and I start liking him more. I take more
Okay.
courses, and then eventually I applied for the LM program. And then I took the bar. I transitioned to attorney under Richard back in 2017. And since then, I've been practicing with him, basically learning from him. He is the prominent tax attorney in San Diego, so he's been practicing longer than I've been alive. So let's just say
Oh,
that.
geez. Yeah.
So,
No, that's awesome.
so it's kind of one of those things where you are learning from one of the masters of the game.
Yeah.
And pretty much most practitioners in the San Diego area know Richard or have been Richard students. So
Mm.
Richard always likes to say, "I teach him all I know, but not I teach him what they know, but not everything I know." so,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
so he
You
holds
gotta
on.
hold
So
back a little bit.
he holds back little some of those trade
Yeah.
practice secrets, but
So now you've been working with Richard for a few years, and you're gonna go
yeah.
back into also kind of doing what Richard did a little bit, right? Like doing some
So
teaching back
teaching,
at USD
yeah,
or
yeah. So I mean, kind of part of me growing up in college, I always thought maybe I want to take a crack at academia and become a teacher at some point.
nice.
I didn't think it was at that point. I was looking at other career options in academia, but once I was in law school and I met Richard, I realized that I'll maybe one day be a teacher again. Obviously, be a couple of years before I can get the experience and the know how to actually
Sure.
sit down comfortably
Right, right.
and teach younger minds or older minds, sometimes they're older students as well, about what I'm teaching them. And earlier this year, they're implementing a new LLM program at
Okay.
USD. They're going to do some online courses stuff as well to expand their reach across the nation a little more, and they're bringing younger minds onto the program. Hence, I'm one of those younger
There
minds
you go.
coming in. So Richard, Paul Young, the director of the graduate program, has reached out to Richard, and they were talking about the program. And Richard, obviously, Richard always had my my name to recommend. So
That's
he's I
awesome.
got your guy.
Yeah.
Because I always told Richard, hey, the job opportunity, let me know, or is any kind of apprenticeship to teach, let me know. Even if it's just shadowing you, because I've always been a
Yeah.
believer in even if you're not getting paid monetarily wise,
Hmm.
even just their experience
Absolutely.
itself is worth it. So lo and behold, I'm doing that. I'll be teaching the state and local tax course next spring. So I'm still in the development process of that right now. So I got to
That's awesome.
finish developing the course, and I'll be teaching that. So that'll be my starting point for teaching.
No, that's awesome, man. That's awesome. Yeah, I think teaching is it's one of those things that like especially if you, as you mentioned earlier, like you want to take a crack at it, like it's almost like a calling, like, hey, I want to, I've been doing this and now I want to give back to the people out there. So,
Yeah, it's about giving back to a very important degree
yeah.
of why I like to teach, want to teach. I'm like,
Yeah.
well, I'll see how it goes dealing with students, but
No,
I like
absolutely.
I like the idea of teaching just because it is sense giving back. It's kind of
Hmm.
you've taken so much from what you learned and from your community surroundings that you want to put back a
Right.
positive impact where you're not just basically taking away, you're actually adding to the
Yeah.
experience for people and making sure that you're enriching lives and making sure that society progresses. So I'm always thinking about working with the community. I believe in helping people in general. That's kind of one of the things that drew me to tax controversy as well, because I like helping people. I like sticking up for people, making sure because sometimes the government doesn't get it right. So I want to make sure
Right.
that I'm there to help them out. That's the one of those things that really drew me to this practice.
Oh, that's awesome. Man. That's awesome. And that speaks volumes about you. Let's dive a little a little more on what you guys do. And by the way, I love you guys' website, and I know that maybe we didn't cover that in the outline that I sent you, but just like the fact that your website is irstaxdisputes.com, that's the website, right?
Yeah, so
Yeah,
that's
I mean the SEO must be killer for that. I mean, it's you guys must be getting a lot of traffic, no?
it works. So that's something that's by design. Richard said, "Hey,
Yeah.
what are the words people Google? What are the words people?" So hey, lo and behold, I mean, luckily he was around to set on some of those earlier search engine optimization word keyword searches. So we've had that for a while, and it works. I mean, people go on there. We get calls. I mean, usually it's people from here in California, but I mean, we do
Okay.
get occasional people out of state. I mean, or even outside of the country. I mean, we have clients all over the world. I mean, it's not a so our practice kind of has expanded over the years to include clients abroad as well.
So yeah, so tell us a little bit about what you guys specialize on. Like, what are the most typical cases that you work? Just let's go a little bit into what both you, Richard, and of course as a company what you guys, what your niches are.
So if you were to say our specialization, our niche is tax controversy. We do tax litigation, both civil and criminal. So we're tax attorneys. And the distinction is there are different kinds of tax attorneys, not just one that wears a hat for all. I mean, there's one that specializes in transactional ones. There's ones that do
Mhm.
tax planning. We don't really do that stuff. We like to stick to our our
Your
our
lane.
our lane because we believe we master one versus trying to
Yeah.
trying to do a bunch of stuff and not
Yeah,
we're not
exactly.
really know what we're doing. So we stick to what we
Absolutely.
know, and that's something that I always tell younger attorneys that find something you want to do, learn it, and do that. Don't try to dabble in too many things because at some point you won't master one, and then you won't perform as well for clients. You're not going to do
Right.
the best thing. Maybe you our intentions are in the good place, but sometimes because you're not really divested into one area, you're never going to really learn more about that area.
Right.
So we do tax controversy. And I mentioned both civil and criminal. So there's a civil side to tax stuff. So usually that's the more common one where you're dealing directly with the government about did you report all your income or you're getting audited for X reason. There's collection stuff. The criminal stuff is that's when the IRS says, hey, we're going to refer you to the U.S. Attorney's office because
Wait
we
a
believe
minute.
you gotta do a little more than just pay us back.
Right, right,
And
right.
usually that's reserved for like people that are grossly understaying their income
Mm,
consecutively, or they're not accurately reporting payroll, or they're not paying the payroll money they're holding in trust to the government.
okay.
Stuff like that is very common to see, and that's one of the reasons usually they go after people criminally.
Okay.
Uh, you're basically at that point, the government wants to make an example of you to get to that
Yeah,
point.
and that
Because
was actually going to be one of my questions. Like, what are some of the very popular or common things that you see out there that end up getting people in hot water?
so I mean, usually what things are you have a a bad return. Your income return has very common mistakes, or you have claim deductions that are usually seen as red flags, like
Okay.
high deductions, and your income is very low for the business per se. Or let's say that you have consecutive years of losses, and or let's say you said you made $1,000 of gross income, and then you reported like $40,000 worth of losses for that year.
Right, right.
Stuff like that, stuff like that is stuff that you see a lot.
Right.
Or sometimes people just make bogus deductions. I've had people come to me with deductions claiming that they were trying to write off their protein shakes
Oh, okay.
or their supplements when it had really no direct correlation to their business at all whatsoever. It's just they
Right.
were just trying to sneak a bunch of random stuff into their expenses. Other stuff is, I mean, sometimes legitimate. Sometimes people have high medical expenses,
Hmm.
but it's still one of those areas people like to cheat the system. So
Right.
they'll make up bogus expenses. But I mean, people I have clients where they legitimately have the expenses, so we put all the records together and present them in the right way to make sure that they get the deduction and they're entitled to it. That's one of them. The other one is just bad luck. The computers are constantly picking up random people.
Okay.
That's another one. The other one is, I mean, a little more special cases. Like, let's say you just share a nexus with some other taxpayers to one tax professional that got in hot water and they got in
Okay.
trouble for it. Sometimes with tax planning happens quite a bit. You got someone that finds some gray area of the law and they think they can milk it and expend
Yeah.
and enrich your
Yeah.
client. And it works for a couple of years. And eventually at some point the IRS says, hey, we found a way to basically
Yeah. It
make
catches
sure
up.
you're no longer in the gray area. You're actually
Right.
you're actually doing something wrong now. So if that person gets in trouble, they start looking at who they've been dealing with, and then sometimes you get caught on that web. That's
Okay.
another thing that can happen. Or sometimes you got these tax preparers that are out there saying, "Hey, I can maximize your refunds," and they come in
Yes.
and say you got like 10 kids and a bunch of lot deductions that you're not entitled to. Stuff like that, that will get you audited at some point to a degree, or sometimes very little oversight. Sometimes people forget to report a 1099,
Okay.
or they forget to report some sort of income or something on the return that the IRS knows about, and they'll get usually like an audit correspondence. Those are usually just letters where they send out and they say, "Hey, we believe you didn't declare all your income. We believe this is the right one. We're going to make these adjustments unless you say otherwise." Those are pretty straightforward. You don't have to deal with an actual revenue agent on those. There's
Okay.
more. The ones that are bigger stuff, then yeah, you get assigned a revenue agent and you actually have in-person meeting with that person.
Interesting. No, that's pretty cool. And it's funny because I was just I'm trying to remember who said this to me, but I was having a conversation around the influencers topic. Like all these influencers are really trying to push the needle on the tax law. Like for example, like what you just mentioned about the protein shakes. Like an influencer could say, "Well, it's because I need the protein shake so that I look good, so that I keep selling my influencer, whatever it is that they
Yeah.
sell." Like, are you seeing more stuff like that, like nowadays, as opposed to like maybe in previous years?
You see them, I mean, they're pretty constant. I mean, sure, I mean, there's a new breed of clients, the influencers, but I mean, bogus deductions have been been around for a while. It's hard to claim a lot of these. I mean, I mean, you'll have different kinds. You got people trying to write off boats, literally,
Yeah,
in a dental practice per se.
Jesus Christ.
Stuff
Yeah.
that's like, where's the connection? You got
Right.
random things like that. So there's some of them are pretty normal. Some of them are pretty far out there.
Right.
You got one of the ones I see a lot, and I always see all these people online trying to be influencers and say, "Hey, trying to offer these tax advices," and they're not financial experts. They're not tax
Exactly.
experts. They're just people that heard from someone or read an article online. Hey, maybe I could talk about this, and they'll start saying, "Hey, if you do this kind of deduction, or you bring in this vehicle expense, stuff like that." And people think, oh, okay, this guy must be right. I'm gonna go buy myself a brand new Range Rover and deduct it and
Exactly, man.
depreciate it. And so, some people get away like that sometimes. And I mean, but the reality is at some point you get audited. If you don't have the right records, if you don't have the right reasoning or about for what you did, then you're gonna get in trouble for it. I mean, it happens quite a bit. I had something that I got clients that actually do have the car for business, but they just don't have the right records. Then you keep the
Gotcha.
light logs, and they get dinged for that, and they get guess what?
Right.
Your $90,000 luxury SUV is no longer
Sorry.
a depreciated asset.
Right.
Those are things that I see a lot, and the reason I mentioned that one is because I always see videos online. Hey, did
Yeah.
you know if you do this or that? And they're like, dude, like, what law school did you go to, what are your accreditations? You know, what did you learn?
No,
You know, like,
exactly, man. And it's funny because you and I, you've been helping me with some stuff
yeah,
personally. So I was talking to my CPA and she's like, yeah, it's because my CPA has been pushing me to keep my stuff like super clean for a long time. And I thought I had kept it very clean, and then I'm like, well, I could always make it better. So that is like one of my goals for 2025. Make sure that so I sign up for QuickBooks. I get I try to consolidate my P&L now like on a monthly basis. And that is something that, you're with your help and with my CPA's help. I'm like, you know what? Yes, I mean, if I'm in this for the long run, if I'm in the self-employment, entrepreneurial, aspect for the long run, like I want to make sure that my stuff is as clean as possible. Whenever you see, like, for example, clients get audited, what are some of the good ways, or what are some of the ways that you tell them, hey, you know what, this is how you should prepare, or maybe they're not even being audited, but it's just so that you're kind of like audit ready. What are some of the things that you recommend people to do?
so one of the biggest things I always tell someone is, are you keeping records? I mean, are you keeping the right records? Even if you're not a self-employed person, I mean, you have to keep good work records for your expenses, your income, making sure that you keep the paper trails, just to make sure that you can account for everything. But people sometimes think, as an individual, I'm maybe a W-2 employee. I don't think I got to keep records. I mean, I just get my W-2 at the end of the year,
Right.
and I'll file my return and hopefully get a refund. But here's the thing. I mean, if you're going to be taking deductions, whether it's your mortgage interest, whether you got medical expenses, any kind of stuff that you can take at the individual level if you're going to itemize. Um, Make sure you have the records. I mean, don't just make up a number,
Right.
like because there's always you're going to run the risk of you getting audited, and that means keeping receipts. I mean,
Mhm.
one of my biggest recommendations is people invest in a good scanner. Like one of those,
Yeah.
like invest in a good
Right.
scanner. I mean, so they're a couple $100 a piece. I mean, some of the good ones. I just got a newer one recently. It's a scan a snap one, four hundred
Okay.
dollars.
Yeah, because there's even the one that you can
Yeah,
take the
you can
photo
do
and
the
it turns
phone
it
one
into a
too. I mean,
PDF.
You can do a phone
Yeah.
one too, but I got one of these desktop ones because I got a high level free level of lock. I got several different ones, but this is my favorite one so far because it's compact and it's right on my desk all the time. So I make
Oh,
constantly
nice. So you can
putting
just
documents in. But the point is, it's a small investment to make sure everything's kept digital now. I
right.
mean, don't get rid of your physical ones for at least a couple of years. Always hold on to those just because digital stuff can still be
What's the
affected.
year wise like what like 3 years, 5 years? Like what's the recommendation?
I mean, at least 3 years.
At
Keep at
least
least
three
three,
years.
three,
Okay.
4 years. I'd say I always go back to six at least. One of the
Okay.
reasons why. So 3 years normally the IRS audit look back period, and then you also have the if you have. I mean, those are more special cases. The 6 years is a criminal statute one
Hmm.
for the IRS. So there's got to be a little more issues about that. But I like to play it safe. I just keep several years out of hand at a time. Usually older stuff, but maybe I'll phase out even if I have a digital record of it.
Okay.
But everything I like to keep everything digital and physical. Uh, these are little small expenses like throughout the year, maybe a filing folder for each year. I mean, they're not out of the world expenses where you just, and make
Yeah.
sure you take one and set a time of the month or a week. To set to do these things. You know, you don't have to do
Exactly.
it every. You don't have to sit down. Oh, I got an item. No, just make sure you have a place where you put your receipts in once a week or once
Yeah.
a month. You sit down. Hey, let's put this into the right folder or make sure that's properly kept. Why? Because as a person, you probably you get the right deductions and you're entitled to them. But if you can't prove it and you get audited, then you're not going to be able to claim it.
Yeah.
You're gonna lose on it, and it happens quite a bit. I mean, I got people that say, "Oh, I kept the receipts," and then they come with 4 or 5 bags, like those, like literally gift bags, like from a party, and they're just stuffed with receipts or a
Right.
box, just. And I mean, that's a start, but I mean, it's still not the most organized thing. And the last thing an auditor wants to see is you coming in with a pile of stuff
Right.
that's
And
not
then you're
organized.
like, all
Everything
right,
that,
it's 450 an hour. So
yeah,
this is probably gonna take me a few.
yeah, that's the other one. I mean, sometimes I don't even want to do it for clients, even though hey, we'll
Yeah.
charge you a rate, but I
Right.
mean, at some point, it's kind of like cost efficiency wise for clients of time. You want to make sure that from a cost benefit analysis for them, you don't want to waste time doing stuff like that. So
Yeah.
hey, maybe you organize yourself. Uh, but that's one thing I see a lot is just either no records or just bad record keeping. I mean,
Right.
they're incomplete or they're disorganized. And even sometimes walking into an audit, let's say you didn't hire some professional, you walk in there with a bag of receipts, the
Oh.
auditor sees it, the auditor's not going to be in a good mood for the most part. I mean, they're going to be like, "What is this?
Right.
Like, what is this? I'm not going to go through this. Like, I'm not going to sit here for hours and hours. And it's not my job really to organize
You
your
get the stuff
document."
cleaned up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so that's something that also influences how an audit can go. I mean, what kind of mood are you putting the auditor in? Are you
Right. Right.
so
And now do you see a lot of audits? Like is this one of the things that one of the areas that if someone gets audited, like they call you, or they typically call you when they're like way way deep into some sort of like a criminal situation or something like that.
so you get? I mean, we see all stages of audits or
Okay.
wherever they are at the prom. Um, I mean, if they're at the audit level, they're still basically at a civil level, which is not a criminal yet. I mean, usually criminal stuff comes afterwards, after the IRS is prepping
Mm,
their civil stuff. Uh, the stuff I usually see with audit is the occasion, like the good one. I say the good clients are the ones that come right away,
right.
and then the ones that sometimes they already started the process, or they let their tax preparer or CPA or someone try to handle it and they got it botched, and now they come to us saying, "Hey, like we messed it up.
This has escalated.
This is escalated. We gotta." I usually, I mean, we still help them, but I mean, I usually like
Right.
to see them before that because at that point, you kind of your client's already boxed in.
Yeah,
Every time you do
exactly.
something, your box basically starts like from being near infinite to every time you do something, it just starts closing
Hmm.
in, and you basically have to operate within those parameters of that box. Whatever you told the revenue agent, whatever you've already presented, maybe you
Right.
overshare. Maybe they didn't even know there was something wrong in a certain part of your return,
Right,
and they
exactly. Now
saw
they're
it
gonna
now
look.
because you said the wrong thing, and that's
Right.
why I like to tell clients, hey, like come to professional. That's not be me. Hopefully it is me, but the point
Yeah,
is
absolutely.
get to someone that knows, because they're gonna know, they're gonna be your shield, they're gonna be advocate, they're gonna be your
Mhm.
filter as well. That they're gonna make sure that you're not doing the wrong things. Because sometimes
Right.
the IRS likes to release these, uh, I call them blank IDR. They're just blanket audits. I mean, the IRS isn't really looking for something particular. They maybe kind of,
Let's see what's
you
out
got
there.
picked up, and they'll throw you with a an IDR, information document request that's several pages long, just requesting a bunch of different things.
Mhm.
And you look at it, it's like a lot. It's like, oh my God, you feel overwhelmed. And you're like, oh, I'm not going to be able to get through this, or what's going on? What are you looking at? At
Right.
that point, that's what we like to come in and say, hey, well, let's see your stuff, and then make sure that, let's present the right stuff. Obviously in a truthful manner. We never lie about these things. You never want to
Right.
lie, but you want to make sure you present the right information, and that way your audit's being handled correctly. Because usually, let's say recently I had a client that has been audited several times now. They
Okay.
just Once you kind of been audited, you always subject to being audited again for your higher risk.
Interesting. Okay.
Uh, and that person, I mean, they have a business. They have a small business, and they have all these. They got the IDR and saying, "Hey, we want to look at this, and that." And they also have some personal issues. They have some medical health issues that they've been dealing with. So I didn't want. I want to make sure that we made it as fast as possible, so they didn't have to be burdened by that as well. They've been going through the hard time. So I'm talking with the revenue agent, and we just get to the down to the nitty and grit about it and say, hey, let's just really focus
Wrap
on,
it up.
a couple of things, and let's get to this over. We don't want to be wasting the time. I mean,
Right.
they got good records, and I mean, there was like a small adjustment to that income return based on the audit, and it was like
Okay.
$1,000. That's it. That's
Oh,
it. It's
interesting.
like
Okay.
basically a small slap on the wrist. I call that
Right.
an excellent result. The amazing results are the ones
Absolutely.
where
Yeah.
the no change audits. We always strive for no change. There's no changes.
Okay.
But I mean, sometimes like it's about minimizing the damage, and or even just basically getting an excellent result like that. Where you can try to fight the small change, but you're going to waste a lot more time and resources trying to fight that.
Exactly.
Let's get it out of the way. But
Right.
so I mean, those are kind of tantamount. You could say almost like a shakedown. I just want something
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
return. But it happens quite a bit on those. I mean, the audits I mean, they're there to police. I mean, but like I
Sure.
said, I like to tell clients, come to a professional from the start to make sure you don't box yourself into the wrong box.
No, absolutely, man. And then you do like a free 15-minute, 30-minute consultation, something like that, or
So we do free 30-minute consultations.
okay.
It's the initial ones where we sit down. The more stuff you bring us, the better we can
Mm-hmm.
assess your
Right.
case, and the more productive those 30 minutes can be. Sometimes maybe a little lenient, give more than just 30 minutes. That can be in
Okay.
person, over the phone, internet. That can be your consultation where we'll hear you out and say, hey, we believe this can be done, or nothing can be done. I mean, we're pretty straightforward with clients. We don't want to waste
Right.
the client's time and money, especially with stuff like with let's say like an OIC or something where we know it's not a good case.
Yeah.
We'll tell clients, hey, you're not a good candidate. We don't want to waste your time or money on this. Like, don't bother. We're not some tax resolution company that's just there
Right.
to churn out to take in money,
Yeah,
and
because
without.
I was gonna ask you about that because like for example, I hear a lot of horror stories from friends. My background is real estate, so I have a lot of friends that are self-employed that have gotten themselves into hot water just because one of my buddies recently, he's like, nah, dude, I haven't filed, like I'm barely filing my 2021. I'm like, man, you're barely filing 2021.
Yeah,
That's definitely I mean, from my understanding, it's a no-no. But what happens is they get a lot of solicitor calls from like these companies, like like Optima, or some of these other ones. And I've heard so many horror stories about those cold calls, and then they engage with that cold call that reaches out to them because, oh no, we're this resolution firm, and they end up spending, I recently told you about a friend of mine and I gave him your information. Like he's like, I'm 20K in and I still don't know where I'm at. So I think it's such a cool thing that, you dedicate this time to, hey, do some discovery, see if you can help, because all these other companies out there, like they automatically, just to sell them, like they will say, yes, we can help. And then just like my buddy, like 20K in and he's still he's still in square one. So that's something really cool that you guys do, because I mean I've gone through that process as well, and like right away, like you got like really tactical, like within minutes, so that's something that goes a very, very long way.
Yeah, I mean, so there's a lot, I mean, you mentioned there's a lot of companies out there, and a lot of these companies basically they just want money. They'll be like, hey, just you can. I mean, and I've had clients come in complaining about them because they feel like they're just basically these ruthless sellers. Like they're firstly almost at the end bargaining their rates to
Hmm.
try to get them to stay with them and say, hey, and get them on like these monthly plans where they're charging them a lot of money
Right,
and getting no results or really, nothing really going on,
right,
and these people are desperate and they'll pay them because they're scared.
exactly.
The IRS won't ever physically call you, or these state
Hmm.
agencies, they won't call you. They'll send you certified letters. They'll come knocking on your door for X degree, but they won't call you. So a lot of times when people call, and sometimes people get bogus notices because a lot of
Right.
these companies will pay to access will have pay for services to go to the uh, county clerk's offices to look at the public lien records because lien records are public.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
they'll go and check and see, hey, X Joe or Juan or Robert, whatever
Yeah, there's a
has a
lean
tax
here.
lien, has a
Hmm.
lien here. Let's reach out to him and
Right.
and give him a little scary
Yeah,
scenario
and it's
and
intimidating,
and
whenever you're like, shoot, man, I work 9 to 5, and then I got to deal with the IRS. I got to deal with the franchise
you know
tax board. I mean, I think I recently told you about a personal situation where there was a mix up with the franchise tax board, and literally, it was just me picking up the phone and just saying, "Hey, this is a mix up. Take a look at this, take a look at that. Oh, can you send me this?" Like, man, it was so easy. And again, this was because it was a mix up situation, but I was like dreading it. Like I was pushing it, like, no, I'm gonna do it next month. I'm gonna do it next month. I'm gonna because it's very intimidating, dealing with the IRS and the franchise tax board. So that's why, what you do is so, special in particular, because you take that burden off from us. you know
and well and that's what we're here for. We're there to take off to carry your your load
yeah.
and make sure that you're not overwhelmed by these things. Because I mean, obviously, it's overwhelming for a lot of people. They think the IRS and it always reminds me of there's this cartoon clip from Batman anime series where Joker's laughing about you got this ruthless criminal who's joking about being scared about the only ones that he doesn't mess with is the IRS. He pays his
Ah.
taxes. That's the criminal. So people are
He'll
generally
mess
scared
with
of the
Batman,
IRS.
but not the
Yeah,
IRS.
yeah. So he's like, and he says, "You think I'm crazy? I'm not gonna mess with the IRS stuff like that." So stuff like that is it's a funny joke because people in general are scared. So
Yeah,
often things I see with people are they're scared about dealing with their tax problems and they want to. I think they can just shove it under the rug and like ignore it, or
exactly.
it's gonna go away by itself.
Hmm.
But I mean, if you want to draw some sort of analogy or something, it's like cancer. It's like if it starts growing, it can grow and spread.
Right.
And
You
you
don't pay
can't just
attention
ignore.
to it, it's going to
Yeah,
go away on its own.
no, no, it'll grow. I mean, it's gonna grow and it's
Right.
gonna start affecting other areas of your life. Um,
Exactly.
and sometimes people, it's not being about scared, it's about being embarrassed. I mean, some
Hmm.
people are just embarrassed about admitting they have problems. And I see it a lot with us in the Latino culture, you got like the strong
Yeah.
egos.
Right.
And it's something that I was talking to another friend about trying to break these stigmas, these social cultural
Hmm.
things that people's mentalities that you don't want to admit you have a problem. You think, oh no, if I
Yeah.
ignore, if I don't talk about it, I can deal with myself. No, no, you gotta understand something. You're in trouble.
Yeah.
Acknowledge it and do this and take the steps to correct it. And that's one of the usually the hardest steps with people. And I've seen it. I saw it recently with someone trying to help their father with a tax situation that's been going on for years. And I can resolve it, but this older man is just entrenched in his old ways and just wants to not deal with it but it's
Right.
there, and it's costing him, and then you just like why, and then you want to help him, at the end of the day, he wants to want to help himself as well, so you can actually help him, uh, but yeah, it's one of those things where people's egos get in the way, or just embarrassed to admit they got something like blue over the head like that, because no one wants to admit they got tax problems, like at the end of the day,
Oh,
and that's like people, more uncomfortable and maybe haven't filed a return, stuff like that. But usually no one's going to tell you that. I mean, they're going to be like, oh, I don't file taxes, or that's something it doesn't really
yeah,
come
well,
up.
it's one of the things that we get at the company. Like we'll have clients say, "Hey, Carlos, I want you to do a cost seg study for a property that I placed in service in 2022, but I haven't filed since 2020." And I'm like, "No, man, you gotta go back, you gotta file, and then at that point we can tackle the cost seg, because otherwise it's pointless."
Yeah.
So unfortunately, we see it a lot, and I think one of the fears, coming from the real estate side of things, entrepreneurial, that we hear about whenever we hear the words IRS, is they're gonna empty your bank accounts. Like that's the first thing that, holy crap, I better tackle this right away, because otherwise, my bank account is gonna be empty by tomorrow. But what you said is key. Like the IRS is not gonna be calling you. Like you have to be really aware of, and that's one of the scare tactics that these telemarketers use. Like, no, this is, there's a lien, there's even the one that there's a warrant for your arrest.
Yeah, those are. I mean, no one's gonna get arrested over civil tax stuff. Like I said, that's just you have to have done something. You will know
Yeah,
if you're gonna get arrested for something along those
right,
lines.
exactly. Like
I
they will
mean,
let you know.
yeah, they're not gonna arrest you because you failed to return, you failed to file 1 year, or you claim some deduction, stuff like that.
Yeah.
No, I mean
And
you gotta
and
do
when do
something
you
egregious.
when do you typically see that, like those cases where they pull money out of the person's account? I
So,
mean, from what I've seen, like it sounds like it's like like if the person has just been non-responsive like forever or something like that.
and that's something I want to clarify. I mean, let's not pretend they don't collect, they don't levy accounts. No, they do levy,
Yeah.
but there's due process. I mean, there's a due process for taxpayers in the sense that they got to follow a protocol where they gotta notify you a certain way, and then they gotta file the correct liens, and then they can start the levy process. Once you're there, so you basically ignore the problem for quite a bit. The
Okay.
IRS is willing to work with people in a sense to help them out to deal with the problem and negotiate and cooperate on how to deal with it. Because if you're proactive, if you
Mhm.
understand you owe and you start working on it, they're gonna be more friendly in the sense they're gonna be willing to cut a better deal with you to address your tax problem versus someone that has ignored it for years or
Right.
just a repeat offender. Those are the ones they take no leniency or less leniency because they
Yeah.
understand this person just knows about it, just
Trying
tries
to
to
milk the
ignore it.
system or
Yeah, and it's kind of they don't look kindly on those ones because I mean it's kind of like if you got a like let's say a kid that doesn't listen at some point like at some point it grows old and you think hey this kid's not learning
yep.
let's you have to put him in check and make sure that he
Right.
understands what he's doing is wrong. So they do collect. I mean, people owe money and they can collect whether you owe 20,000, whether you owe 5,000, or you can owe several $1 million, and they're still going to collect.
Yeah.
They'll try to collect from you if you're not addressing it.
Right.
What I mean about addressing is something we do. Is I handle a lot of collection cases, and those are basically actually being proactive about negotiating, talking with them about, hey,
Hmm.
maybe I can't afford to pay you right now X amount, but I can afford to pay you this much. This is how much I have left over to pay you each month,
Right.
or maybe I just can't pay you it all right now, but I can maybe pay you in a year. So give me, and then we'll
Hmm.
work on a deal where we give you some time to get to that year, and then see where you're at then. Other cases, kind of maybe I just need 6, 7, 8 months to get money to pay you. Let's work on something like that.
Right.
They're willing to work with you as long as you're being honest about it and you're being active about it. The one thing I do see, and it's harder for some clients, is that they're repeat offenders and they get year after year after year of owing,
Mm.
and then
Right.
it gets hard because these installment agreements are kind of discretion. I mean, pretty much kind of discretionary. They don't at the end of the day like say, hey, you know what? It's been you you've owed us each year for 7 years now.
Yeah.
We're not going to cut you a deal. Like
Gotcha.
you got to pay us now. Like that's or like you're just
Right.
choosing to do things wrong, and we know you can pay us. It
Yeah,
happens to
that's the one that we know you can pay us. We can
yeah
see your financials.
yeah, and so sometimes like people get scared about even for like businesses. And like for example, I had a client who's had a strong uh, performance for the past couple months compared to some past years. So now he looks like he can pay a lot more each month.
Hmm.
And but at the same time, and he's got some he finally has some capital reserves in his business. And
Right.
but we talk about it. We go through the numbers. We look at everything and say, hey, maybe you think he can pay you that much. But let's kind of really go down to the details and think maybe there's a lot less he can pay because he needs to still keep that business
The float. Yeah.
liquid with only be able to stay
Right.
afloat.
What
And
would you
because
say, as far as like saying, hey, you know what, you could be a candidate to, give me a call and we can try and work something like what, like if they owe north of what, like 5K, 10K, or
and yeah, I mean usually there is a cost benefit analysis.
okay,
When I take a look at a case, I mean, sure, the higher the amount, the more of a candidate you become because then our services costs are more are basically they make more economic sense.
right,
You're not. But if you come with a low amount, sometimes it's almost like, hey, maybe you're just better paying it off and letting it go. Versus,
right,
I had someone recently that I could have helped out, but from the cost benefit, it's almost like he would be barely. I mean, he would barely. The benefit and the upside was barely a little more than what he would have costed
yeah,
for me to do it. So hey,
right,
dude, like this is what it is. Like I'm sorry, I really can't help you a lot less. I mean,
yeah,
uh, and that's something that happens more often than not. But I mean, usually the case, I mean, you can have $10,000, $15,000 liability. I'll help you out. I mean,
okay,
but usually the larger stuff, just makes more economic sense because the clients won't feel like they're paying
yeah, absolutely.
X amount and not
It's a
getting.
it's a 10x benefit. So it's like, hey,
Yeah.
absolutely, I'll take it. And then one of the big things that you guys also do is the offer and compromise, right? You
Yes.
do a lot of those too. Let's talk about those a little bit.
So offering compromises are pretty popular because people always see some sort of variation or some uh renamed or rephrased
Hmm.
version of it online
Yeah.
or someone talking
The
about it
Fresh
in some
Start program.
infomercial. All these things, and it's just like you think, okay, I heard I can settle my $100,000 debt for a fraction for less,
Yeah.
and I feel like I can settle for 10,000. And they come up with these. Sometimes people come with crazy
Oh
ideas,
yeah.
and they're like, "Oh, I want to do that. Let's do that. How much I got to pay you, or what do we got to do?" And I'm like, hold on, let's take a couple steps back. I want to see if
Right.
you actually are a good OIC candidate. And for that, I actually we do basically our financial analysis. Uh, it starts on a very superficial level, like on a surface level, look at very general things, and then we start to look at deeper things as things progress. But we usually have a lookout from the get go for these red flags of
Okay.
what usually makes you not a good candidate. Uh, the most important factors are age, type of profession, income level, household size, assets are big.
Okay.
These are things that they take into consideration. If you're, let's say, a 40-year-old professional, and this guy's young, he's going to have a lot of, he's going to be able to perform in art ideas that he's going to be able to grow and
Hmm.
his income should go up. So maybe we take a shot at not at trying to collect them. Uh, and the reason I say we like to do that analysis thoroughly is because OICs are costly, they're time consuming, and we want to make sure that if you're going to do it, you have a good shot at being successful. We don't want to waste your time or money on a bad result, and that's something a lot of these tax relief companies will do. They just don't care if you're tax.
Exactly.
They don't care
Yep.
if you can. They'll say, "Hey, you owe me six, seven
They'll just
thousand
push you
dollars,"
through. Yep.
and they'll push you. And, and then you got a bad result. Say, "Oh, sorry,
Yeah.
next."
Sorry.
And
Better luck next
it's like,
time.
and that's the thing where we don't want to do that. Is I mean, our practice, we want to keep our reputation, our prestige to the degree that we're not going to turn out a bad product.
Yeah.
we're not going to just take a client's money. Obviously, sometimes like sure, I mean that means more money for our pockets, but I mean we don't want what it costs. There's no
Yeah.
amount of money that is gonna that you're gonna pay us to degrade our work. Like That's
Yeah,
something sometimes.
and just and you're it's not that so I guess what I'm trying to get across is I want to make sure that I interview you and that I ask you, these important questions, but at the same time, I want to make sure that I give you praises because that's one of the things that I see from you guys that you guys will like if someone sends you guys an email, like either you or Richard will respond like very, very fast. Typically, all these other companies out there, you get like the assistant that's like in the Philippines,
Yeah, and
so
that's something that drew me to work with Richard and stick with Richard. That I mean, we're a boutique firm. I mean, we're a small firm, but
yeah,
but even then, we're still recognized and we still win awards and stuff. Where we're competing with the bigger firms with a big staff and stuff like that. Because we, after years, we realize like we don't technically need that big staff to perform well. It's just
right.
we're there, we're face to face with clients. A lot of my clients like dealing with me over the years because, and they'll come back and say business because they understand they have face to face with me, and they'll know that I'm going to get to them as soon as possible and make sure. And sometimes it can be a day or two, but depending on the case, on the
Right,
workload
right.
on
No,
the week.
but and then you'll
But
remember the case. It's
yeah,
you kind of keep it personal. So
but that's something that I've been doing since day one. We work with Richard. I mean, I've been dealing with my own. I've learned to case manage myself.
yeah,
I'm not. I don't pawn off some tasks to other people, and
right.
I know the cases inside and out. Uh, and I know what works for clients. And as a small firm, we always do I mean, I always say it's custom tailoring. We custom tailor cases. I mean, it's not a one
Absolutely.
size. It's never a one size fits all.
Right.
We want to make sure we listen and look at all the things about your case and make sure maybe there's another way around it, or maybe we'll find a way to try to help. That's something that, and a lot of these other places are just, you're a one
Right.
side, you're a one, you try to put on that off the coat, off the rack
Yeah,
coat.
exactly.
It's never gonna
It's
fit right sometimes. It's just,
there's a bunch of assistants and then there's a bunch of all right, now I submitted this, so now I'm handing you off to this other attorney, and
yeah,
then that attorney does gets to, let's say that attorney one does A, B, and C, attorney two does C, D, and and
yeah.
it's like by the end it's like, there's like seven attorneys that touch your file and nobody knows. Send me everything again because I don't have it. There's a lot of that. So you guys are extremely efficient. You guys respond very, very fast. Like you said, even though it's a boutique firm, I mean, just the level of service that you guys provide and the knowledge, I mean, it's second to none. So that's why, I'm like, man, I gotta have you on the podcast because there's a ton of information. I mean, you're a vault of knowledge on these topics. And it's really, really important stuff, because nowadays, you have a lot of self-employed entrepreneurs, a lot of people just trying to do things, maybe just kind of not really tackling it, leaving it for tomorrow or that kind of thing, or hey, it's because this is the way my dad used to do it, so that's how I do. Well, that doesn't mean that that's the right way to do it. So educating the people out there, it's in these kinds of things, it's crucial.
And it's funny you mentioned this whole this my way my dad did it. 'Cause I have a case that I started working a year ago, and he was at a tax religion company, and he had some tax issues because he's running a business with his father, and his father passed away, and there was just bad record keeping. So there's just like there's a bunch of stuff that the tax resolution company wasn't really doing right, and they weren't even
Okay.
tackling the problem correctly. They thought their strategy, their idea how to resolve it was completely wrong, and he's wasted just time and money there more than a year,
Right.
and within less than a year, basically done all the progress, and we're getting to a point where he's actually going to get a better result than he
Nice.
would have ever thought with the other company, and that's something that. Kind of overlaps because my father did a certain way. No, his father was doing
Right.
something completely wrong on how they were doing the stuff in the business,
Yeah.
and we're helping them to fix it. But yeah, I mean, our level of service is top tier in the sense that, like I said, you have direct contact to us. I mean, we're not gonna. I mean, we do have clerks and stuff like that. They help us out with,
Sure.
but I mean, we're not gonna. Your case is gonna be handed from one attorney to another. I
Yeah.
mean, once it's there on my desk, I mean, unless something happens to me, then
Right. No,
I
and
mean,
and and
I'll be the one knowing about your case, and And you can, and I mean, some clients have been with me for years, and I mean, they know how to get to me. I mean, they have access to my
Right.
direct phone lines, and they can shoot me a text occasionally. I mean, like sometimes like they could shoot me
Yeah.
a text later in the day, and I'll still answer. I mean, hey, like, or I'll be like, hey, I'll get
Oh,
back to you
absolutely.
tomorrow, stuff like that. I mean, there are times where I just kind of turn my phone to the side
Well, you
and just
got
leave it
sometimes
there,
you got to
and
focus and
and I go do other stuff. I mean, yeah, it's kind of
right.
that life work balance. It's just like I don't even want to touch my phone. You know, I don't want to deal with it because
Exactly,
I
man.
just kind of need to take a couple hours of the day just to make sure that
Regroup. Yeah.
regroup and I'll get back to everyone at some point later. Just because it's something that's overwhelming, you know. My wife today is like, "You're on the phone all day." I'm like, "Well, yeah," it's like, or you're doing stuff like,
Exactly, man. Or your kids want you to pay
yeah,
attention to them, and no, I absolutely know how it is, but it is critical, and this is to the audience out there. It is critical to rely on someone like Carlos, with his knowledge. We live in a world today where everyone's trying to be a DIYer. Everyone's
yeah,
like, all right, give me the recipe and I'll do it. I think especially after COVID, at least I started cutting my own hair, grilling my own steaks, and I became pretty good at it. But that's it.
yeah.
I don't try and DIY the financial side of
You're
things. Leave it to the pros like Carlos.
you're brave to DIY your hair. I mean, I wouldn't even bother. Like, I don't care what my like my stylist charges me. He
Yeah,
like he got the know how. He knows what to do. I'm not gonna pretend to know what he does, you know. And it's
absolutely,
like
man.
it just like sometimes DIYing can be costly, you know. You think try to save money
Extremely
DIY,
costly.
your problem becomes bigger at the end. It's
Mhm.
gonna cost you more. It's like
Yeah.
sometimes it's
Yeah,
better to
and that's all these influencers and people out there in social media, like they'll do a YouTube, so everyone's just trying to YouTube everything, and it's like, no, man, like this, leave it to the pros, leave it to someone like Carlos, because
yeah
like you said, they'll come to you when they're in the middle of the battle, and then at that point it's a very different strategy as opposed to coming to you from the beginning.
yeah. I mean, and it's like sometimes like when I was younger, I'd be like, oh, I can do this at the house. I'll
Yeah.
try to drill and mount stuff, but then I'm like drilling like 50 holes, trying to find the
Right.
stud, right? Or for some reason, the stud's not where it's supposed to be. And then the person that comes to help you says, hey, you know what? Maybe because you didn't realize that this part of the house or this is something, there's something
Yeah,
different to spec. And this stud never, it was never going to be there, even though you think it
right.
should be there, it's somewhere else. It's very simple things like that. Now you got a bunch of holes to cover up apart from
Exactly.
it.
Hey, you're about to crack the foundation just because you try to do this one thing.
So it's like, yeah, DIY can be costly. I mean, I'm not saying it doesn't work sometimes, but in general, it's like when it comes to delicate things like this, like just talk to a professional. I mean, even my 30-minute consultation can be very beneficial. You know, maybe it's not going to cost you,
Absolutely.
but at the end of the day, you're going to be like, hey, like maybe he did tell me some things where uh now I know where to get help. And sometimes like some it says I can't afford an attorney.
Right.
Even if you talk to me, I can point you to the federal tax clinic at UST, which helps low income taxpayers with tax forms,
Mm,
and maybe they can help you. I mean, I was
right.
there, and then Richard's there. I mean, and we can help you in some capacity, or
Right.
even sometimes, let's say you have something adjacent to tax, we can always point you in the right direction as well. You know, we
Right.
know other attorneys that maybe can help you better in a certain way. Maybe you need a tax planner. We'll get you to a tax planner, or maybe you need something with a regarding a trust or an estate. You
Right.
know, we can get you the right attorneys at that point too. I always want to tell people, don't be afraid. You know, be proactive about it.
Exactly.
The first thing is actually just picking up the phone or
Hmm.
getting on the computer and starting to look for these things. It's not just going to magically fall out of the sky. Your solution is going to be like, oh, there you
Yep.
go. Here's a solution to your problem. But I mean, that's something I always tell clients is like the best thing you could, the most important thing is you got yourself here now, so you could talk about it. You know,
You picked up the phone, you made the appointment, you took responsibility for that.
yeah,
I
and it
love it,
happens.
man.
And I mean, it's for individuals, businesses. I mean, all kinds of problems. You know, like I said, it could be audits, it could be collections, they can be innocent spouse cases. It
Mm,
can be even just offshore reporting for, let's say, you got to report your F bars or you got to report your offshore offsets.
okay.
Those are the kind of things we help with, you know, because there's all the compliance stuff that we work with as well, and even like financial crime stuff. I mean, like
Right.
we help with those as well. We had an earlier case that was a financial crime one as well, and just it was someone got wrapped up in a bad seed,
Oh shoot.
and basically was being accused of laundering, but he wasn't doing that. It just looked
Right.
it was just stuff that was done the wrong way that looked like it was, but it they're all kinds of there's small, there's big. Never think your problem is too big or too small to be heard out.
Yeah.
It's just that. Uh, and don't ignore it because there's very important things about because there are deadlines, there's timelines as well. Let's say
Right.
tax. Yeah, I'm going to mention about tax court because you remember you talked about it before. You mentioned it. Maybe we want to talk a little about tax court. So let's say you got audited and they issue a notice of determination deficiency.
Okay.
Uh, if you get an NOD, the notice of deficiency after the audit, that means you're not in agreement. You haven't signed off on anything, but the IRS say, hey, you got 90 days now
Right.
to either accept this or file your petition. And that's a very strict 90 days. Like, if you get past 90 days
Clock
and
is
you file your
ticking.
petition, you're basically gonna have to have a really good excuse and a really good story that falls under the code provisions that allow you to go past 90 days.
Okay.
And that's discretion at that point by the judge as well. But the reason I say it's important is because 90 days to get to tax court is crucial for taxpayers. If you want to get into tax court if you can. If there's
Right.
an opportunity to do so because tax court is very friendly for taxpayers. They're very. It's not like the judges are there to help in the sense that they're there to make sure that the Internal Revenue Code provisions are administrated correctly,
Okay.
and they're there to help people. Some people go proper and they'll try to have a case themselves, and the judges will be like, hey, maybe at this point now you need someone to help you out, or
Right.
they'll help try to guide the taxpayers to the right way to make sure that they're not getting let's just say screwed over by the system. Uh, but the one thing about tax court is that let's say you got a notice of deficiency and the IRS says you owe $200,000. If you go to tax court to challenge it, you can challenge that deficiency without having to pay the deficiency beforehand.
Okay.
Let's say you went past 90 days and you owe that 200,000 now.
You're screwed.
Guess what? You're kind of screwed because the only way to challenge it now is district court, but district court requires you to prepay that tax and stuff because you're gonna basically try to do a claim for refund away to get that money back and
Gotcha.
say that they were wrong. But now you got to pay $200,000 to challenge that stuff,
Right.
and
Right.
it's kind of
Which otherwise you could have just challenged it and
yeah.
taken it from there.
So it can go from it can become a very costly thing for a
Yeah.
taxpayer, and then also you're going to be dealing with the district court judges aren't normally tax experts. They really don't sometimes
Right.
know tax codes in and out correctly. You're going to be dealing with non-tax people at that point, and that's something
Gotcha.
you don't want. You want the judge to know about tax. You want people that are just doing tax, and that's they're there. I was actually at the tax court yesterday.
Okay.
Uh, oh no, on Tuesday. Sorry, yes, no, Thursday. On Tuesday, with Richard for one of those cases, in his spouse case, and you're there back and forth. It's a pretty cool experience if you guys ever want to take a look at it. Tax court is a traveling court, so the whole session throughout the country, the judges travel.
Hmm.
They're
Okay.
DC based, so they travel throughout the country and throughout the whole trial sessions throughout the year. Like in San Diego was one city, and they'll be there for end of May to early June, and then they'll come back later in September, October,
Okay.
and then near the end of the year. They just kind of they come. They're not there all the time, but they just come in the trial sessions, which is pretty cool. If you ever get a chance, if you want to, you always ask me, hey, you can walk in, and say, hey,
Absolutely, man.
and you just watch what the process looks like,
Right.
and it's pretty cool. I mean, I also encourage the people that want to go into the area of practice. I was go take a look at
Yeah.
at actual trials and sit there. You can just watch. It's a good experience to learn these
Go
things.
take a look.
But going back to the core stuff, it's important to do it just because of that. One of those aspects is not having to prepay,
Right.
and you'll get your opportunity to make your case. So that's something we do a lot. Is also tax court petitions.
Okay.
We're basically pretty experienced when it comes to tax court litigation, and more often than not, these cases will settle. Rarely do some go to trial. They do it
Okay.
occasionally. Some go to trial, but I
Oh,
mean,
that's
usually
interesting.
the end game is settling at the end of the day. So another thing is that we've been around for so long that we know a lot of IRS counsel as well. We got to know over the years, so that comes into play a lot when it comes to
Yeah,
breaking
you'll
down
you'll see a
negotiating.
document and you're like, oh, it's this guy. Like I know
Yeah,
him. So that I think that goes. Yeah, that should make a difference.
it does. It completely does. I mean, at the end of the day, it kind of goes back to the don't forget these people are human as well and they have their emotions and their personal lives
Right.
sometimes. That
Yeah,
come
and they
into
have
play
their
when you're
jobs, and they just, they just like everyone else, they just got to do their job,
yeah. And sometimes at that point, like hey, like you understand maybe they don't want to deal with too much with something, so they're willing to cut you a deal in a certain way.
Right.
So and you gotta this is the stuff as an attorney you learn over the years when the when you find your little your point of like let's say this is where I gotta make sure I'll take advantage of the little spot right now and make sure that I use that to my advantage or and
Right.
sometimes it's back and forth, sometimes you gotta cut favors back in the sense that you say, hey, I helped I see that on this point, maybe you give me the other one, like it's not just always a one way, it's
Work
kind of
something out.
mutual. Yeah, so sometimes like I'll be like sometimes I'll be like, I'll tell the client, we got to give this point up. Like, there's no point of fighting because if we do, then
Right.
we're gonna get screwed over another one. It's
Right, right, right.
like,
It's gonna come back to us.
yeah, he's not gonna be happy. We're trying to make a point of this one because it's back and forth. I mean, at the end of the day, I remember one of my earlier cases. We were prepping for trial, and we were going. I thought we were going to trial, and I'd already done all my opening statements, everything ready for the next day.
Okay.
And I'm walking to the office to meet with the attorney at the office, and he's like, "Hey, and I'm like, well, let's go. He's like, no, we're not going. I'm like, why? I'm like, dude, we settled. Like, what? I invested on all these hours like a couple of days before to go to trial, and
Right.
we basically had the down the clock. We had everything. We're gonna win. And IRS counsel hadn't seen it, but out of courtesy, we had talked to IRS counsel the day before and told them what was coming.
Right.
The next day, I just said, "Hey, no, we
No, we're
realized
good.
we're gonna get chewed out by the judge for not knowing this or by overlooking this key part of the
Right.
case." And so stuff like that, like and that's when the attorney, the IRS counsel, like you can make a relationship with them because if if you basically say, "Hey, I don't want to make you look like a fool,"
Hmm.
like they become friendly with you as well because you save them from let's say from a
Yeah, man.
really bad
I want to
result.
save you the headache.
Yeah, it's like from a bad result, and it's by experience or something that happens. They will give you a heads up too, like, "Hey, this
Right.
is coming," or like this is gonna happen, or maybe like let's so you're not out there like a deer in headlights looking like a fool in front of everyone.
Exactly.
Because at the end of the day, they're human. It's their careers. It's like
Yeah.
you don't want to like occasionally you come across someone that you don't they don't want to work with you. So at that point, it's kind
Right.
of like a no bars,
No, that's
don't
awesome,
hold
man.
back.
That's awesome, brother. And I know that you're a busy guy, and I mean, like I said earlier, man, you're a wealth of knowledge. I mean, there are so many other things that we didn't touch on, but we have to touch on the other stuff. We'll get a little bit more into California stuff,
Yeah,
and talk about the innocent spouse. What's it called? Because that
innocent
happens a
spouse.
lot too.
So
Yeah.
it happens a lot. I mean, sometimes you got married couples that end up getting divorced, and
Right.
during those years, let's say one of the spouses didn't know what was going on wrong with the returns, or there's some sort of foul play, and that person is looking to not be liable for liability because anything filed jointly is a joint liability for both people. But
Mhm.
let's say the wife was a stay-at-home mom and never did anything wrong, and she never signed up on the return. Well, she just kind of signed innocently and didn't realize what she was
Yeah,
signing,
exactly.
or didn't know there was a liability. Uh, we work with cases like that where we can get them off so they're not on the hook for their liability. So
Awesome.
that's something that happens quite a bit. So it's kind of a bare, in a nutshell, kind of description of what an innocent spouse case look like. Like the one I saw earlier this week at tax court, basically, they've been married for over 20 years and she didn't really
Mm.
know much about tax stuff like that. And the guy was just basically a total tax cheat that was lying the whole time.
Oh,
And
wow.
the guy wasn't really the most friendly person. He was just I don't want to use foul language, but let's just say.
Right.
And this guy's trying, and at some point, he's just you realize how some people are, and but that person obviously was trying to get the woman was trying to get off the hook,
Hmm.
so she wouldn't be responsible for what she didn't do wrong. So it kind of those are the kind of cases for innocent spouse. Obviously, state stuff. We deal with state tax agencies as well, both CDTFA, FDB, and also the EDD. So all kinds, whether it's payroll or income tax stuff like that.
The payroll is a big one. Yeah.
Yeah, payroll is pretty big. I mean, I always tell people don't mess with your payroll. Don't mess
Right.
with it. It's one of those things where you can go to jail. Like,
Yeah,
yeah, it's
absolutely.
sales taxes, stuff like that. make sure you take it down correctly because in a sense, when you're as an employer, you withhold money for payroll, for employment tax, stuff like that. You're holding that money in trust. It's not your money, and it's money for the government already. So basically, let's say you're my employee. If I withhold that money from your paycheck, that's your money that I have to go over and give to the government. And legally, it's not my money. But sometimes for cash flow issues, I'll be like, oh, maybe I want to pay this vendor or do this with this money and
Right.
rental, and then I'll ignore my payroll, like the payroll tax
Right.
obligation. And that's
Wow.
where things can start going south. Is like if if a business is having a cash flow issue and they try to take money away from the payroll funds, then that's where things kind of really start to get complicated. And those can go from civil liabilities to actual criminal
Criminal really
investigation.
fast.
Yeah, no, like you'll go to jail for that. I mean,
Right.
you have people that have like $9 million dollar payroll liabilities that just chose for years
Wow.
to not pay, and now they're on the hook, and then you find out they were basically using it to fund a lavish lifestyle or other stuff. And those are the kind of things that can go really wrong. And you have other simple ones like in the sense that I had a retailer whose accountant had messed up and never really brought to knowledge that they weren't filing
Mhm.
sales tax returns. So he
Right.
was operating a retail shop without an actual retail license, a valid retail license, and an actual paying sales taxes. Those are all jailable offenses by the state of California.
Oh shoot. Wow.
Yeah, because that's money that you should have been collecting or
Right.
did collect and didn't pay to the government. So it's kind of like it's basically it's straight stealing. It's not like
Right.
you just owe the money. No, you straight up stole from the government in their eyes. So these are the things that I always tell clients is like if it's something payroll related, make sure you get the right person because people think, oh, it's the business's liability. No, no,
Right.
no. It's not
No.
about it's not about piercing the corporate veil or trying to gossip individual. No, your business is going to be on the hook,
Right.
but the trust fund portion can get personally assessed
Right.
on the owners of the business and anyone potentially responsible for payroll can get also dinged and be responsible for that amount. They're actually going to basically try to collect from whoever they can at that point. It's not like just say it's your business. Now I'm going to try to collect from. Let's say, did you have a ability to sign checks or make decisions? Maybe we can go after you as well.
Right.
So I always tell clients if you look at if something's going wrong in your business and you know that at that point someone's not paying payroll and you're responsible for the bookkeeping or something,
Okay.
maybe we start to talk about your
Yeah,
exit
let's
strategy because they may be looking at you and trying to hold you responsible as well.
right. Yeah, let's
And
start
then
let's start there. No, I love it, man. I mean, it's there's tons of golden nuggets that you've shared with us today, man. And like I said, I know that you're a busy person, so I appreciate you setting some time aside. Give us your and I will put it in the video and in the podcast and all the platforms, but give us your contact info. What's a good way someone can get in touch with you, your firm, all that good stuff.
so the best way, I mean, obviously is our website, which you mentioned earlier that you love, www.irstaxdisputes.com. Make sure it's plural. You can always reach me in my direct email, which is my name, Carlos, Carlos, at irstaxdisputes.com. Or you can reach me at the direct phone line, 619-349-7352. That's usually the best time to reach me at because that's my dedicated work line. That's one of those COVID added features that where it's one of the internet phone lines where it'll sound on my phone, my computer, so I always have
Right.
access to it. And that's the best way to reach me. I mean, you can always shoot me a text at that number as well. If you feel more comfortable, however you feel more comfortable, email, text, phone call, in person. I mean, if you want to set up an in-person consultation, we can always do that as well. Those are the best ways. And I mean, never don't feel shy about reaching out. I mean, whether it's something small or if you want to help someone out, a friend or a family member, always feel free to call. I'm there. I mean, I get sometimes calls from friends saying, "Hey, my mom or my dad's got this problem. Can you help them out?"
Yeah.
Sure, let's sit down. Let's talk about it.
Right.
And it's, but no, I mean, don't ever feel ashamed or overwhelmed. Stop
Yeah.
being afraid. Like we're here to help. We're here to make sure that you don't, so you're not afraid about it.
Love it, my brother. No, thank you so much, man. And I'll make sure to put all that information in the description and all the details. And we got to do one again. We'll dive a little bit deeper on the California stuff. And I mean, there's so many topics that we can touch on. So I appreciate you jumping on the podcast, brother. And it's great seeing you. We've been texting a lot, but I haven't seen you in a minute or two. I think it's
Yeah.
since your son's birthday, but we'll do it
Um,
again
I
soon,
think,
man. And I
we
appreciate you coming aboard.
all right. Well, thank you, Carlos. We should hang out pretty soon, and like anytime you want to have me on again, and talk about the state stuff, I'm more than happy to talk about it.
Awesome, man. Appreciate it. Talk soon.
All right, take care.